Hey, what's up guys, it's Renaldo here. So this video is going to focus on John Steenhuisen's sit-down interview with Adriaan Basson, who is the editor-in-chief of News24. Now, right off the bat, I can almost say with 100% conviction that neither Jordan Lewis, who's the leader of the DA, or senior leaders that form part of the federal executive of the DA would have approved for him to sit down with News24. So expect some fireworks between John Steenhuisen and the Democratic Alliance because he talks in a negative way about the party and about Jordan Lewis. And ultimately, I do think that this is going to come and bite him in the arse. But with that being said, the interview was an hour and something minutes. I'm not going to comment on all of that. I have edited portions of it to speak on the topics that I find interesting, and I haven't removed the context out of it or made him say things that he didn't actually say. And just for transparency purposes, I will link the entire video from News24 in the description below, as well as the comment section below. And also, no copyright intended. This is just for me to react to what John Steenhuisen had to say. So with that being said, and before we go to this interview, please be sure to subscribe. It's absolutely free. It won't cost you anything, as well as smashing the like button or sharing this video far and wide. It'll be greatly appreciated. All right, let's have a listen to what John and Adriaan Basson had to say.
John Steenhuisen, welcome to News24. This is your first public interview after being removed as Minister of Agriculture by your party, the DA. And before we get into the nitty-gritty of how it all happened and why you think it happened, maybe I just want to ask you, how are you? How are you feeling at this moment?
I'm fine. I mean, look, I've been in politics for over 30 years, so certainly I've been in the hurly-burly. I'm not going to lie to you or the listeners and say to you that I'm not disappointed. I'm deeply disappointed. But I think my disappointment lies more at a personal level than at a professional level. Obviously, the leader of the party chooses who he appoints and disappoints, and I've always respected that. I mean, I've been in that position before. But I think in this instance, for me, the personal issue is that a word was given and a word was broken. Call me old-fashioned, but when I give my word to somebody, they can take that to the bank. But clearly, I should have stuck by that old cliched political comment that if you want a guarantee in politics, buy a toaster.
So, okay, there's a lot to unpack here because I'm obviously going to use the similarities between what happened to Ramon Cabernac, myself, Emma Powell, Andrew Whitfield, Dion George, and just show the contradiction, because he's talking here about how when he gives his word, you can bank on it. But it's quite weird because he did that to Ramon Cabernac. He did that to me, saying that, he would defend and stand up for what is right. But when it wasn't politically expedient for him to do so, then he just threw most of us under the bus. So yeah, it's weird now how we've come full circle where this has now bit you in the arse because you have created this environment within the Democratic Alliance where people are stabbed in the back and people outside of the party has more say than people inside the party. But well done. It's come full circle, and now you want to cry when in actual fact you are the one that allowed this mentality to fester in the Democratic Alliance.
Tell us about that 48 hours. You were in India, right, on a state visit, a BRICS, I think, conference, and then you received a message from Hill Lewis's office that you have to see him.
Correct. I was in India. I got a message saying they would like to see me when I landed. I landed in the mid-afternoon and drove straight through to head office, waited. Jordan arrived and we had a meeting, and he told me there that he was going to be making this move and informed me. Obviously, we had a bit of a discussion, and I left, and it was left at that. And that's really the last time we've spoken since then.
Can you tell us?
I just have to say it is interesting because this tends to happen. I mean, the moment the thing with me and IOL and the DA happened, then Helen, Saviwe Garube, John Steenhuisen, and other senior figures in the party immediately just stopped. There was no further communication. There was nothing like, hey, Renaldo, come and sit with us, meet with us, explain, what actually is going on here. It was just complete, silence. And then literally a day or two later, I received a notice that the party is taking me on for disciplinary steps. But this obviously is a method that they use. And now for some reason, John doesn't understand why Jordan Hill-Lewis and him aren't talking. Go figure.
What he said to you.
Well, I think his point was that the words were that I'd lost the political narrative on this thing.
On foot and mouth.
On foot and mouth disease. Which, I also think was rather strange, given the fact that we'd really started to make big successes now in this thing. Look, I think it was coming on the back of the email that had surfaced, and I mean, there's obviously a number of elements to explore there, how that email made it out into the public realm and how it was shared and spread. But nonetheless, I mean, obviously, this was obviously becoming too much to bear internally. For the leader and externally, as he said, and he was forced to make a decision, and he made it.
So I find it very interesting on how similar the tactics are here, because he talks about, why wasn't there more questions asked about how this managed to get out, the email, and, further investigate all of these things. Well, I mean, hello, it was like 2 weeks of me being a member of parliament, and suddenly this 14-year-old video at the time pops out of nowhere, and it's snipped to such an extent that you can just see the worst out of it. And nobody in the DA went, there is clearly a targeted attack at our people. Let's rally behind, the people that we chose to be members of parliament, because we chose them to be members of parliament because we respect them and we understand that they can do the work. But instead of that, it's just, damage control, throw as many people under the bus to get rid of this. So the fact that he wants to talk about how did this information get out? Well, firstly, the information is there. And it was done by your chief of staff. The irony out of all of this, though, is that if he didn't cower to cancel culture and he kept Roman Cabernac as his chief of staff, then the straw that broke the camel's back, meaning Yana Leroux, his chief of staff, writing an email like that, and also swearing at somebody at a gathering, that would never have happened, which means the straw that broke the camel's back would never have taken place, and he would probably still be in his position. So how's that for karma? I mean, I'm sure Roman Cabernac is smiling ear to ear because of that.
What was your response to him? Did you...
Well, I mean, obviously, I made the point very clearly that we must be very careful that we stick by our own people and that we back them in difficult circumstances, and that...
Oh, really? Oh, really? This is fascinating. It's so weird when the shoe is on the other foot, because there was none of this when what happened to me, and not just me. To me, Roman Cabernac, Andrew Whitfield, Emma Powell, Dion George, and now suddenly you want to talk about how you need to rally behind the people that you choose. This is such bullshit.
If thinking that giving my head to the baying mob was going to appease them or somehow assuage their hunger for blood, it was only going to encourage it. And I think I used the analogy about particularly how hyenas hunt. They narrow somebody out of the herd and they focus relentlessly on them, and they bring them down. And I just hope that this isn't going to become a trend that we start to see happening when a baying mob goes for somebody. You dump them. My view was
that is exactly what you did to me and Roman Cabernac and under pressure to Andrew Whitfield, Emma Powell, and Dion George. It's exactly to the T what you, as the leader of the DA at the time, did. You created this environment when people were saying Renaldo Gouws must be removed and must be his membership must be terminated with the DA. You guys decided to overrule a 3-month investigation that said I should remain as a member of parliament. In one day, you guys overturned it and you gave in to the mob. And you did the same with Ramon Cabernac, and you did the same with Andrew Whitfield, and you did the same with Emma Powell, and you did the same with Dion George. And now suddenly, because it's you and your head on the chopping block, now suddenly you are saying, but wait, we mustn't just, give in to these people because who's next? Well, I warned you about this. I said this when I was actually in the meeting with the FLC, which is the Federal Legal Commission. I told them, I said, this is a targeted campaign to start getting rid of people within the DA that is vocal and will fight the ANC in government. And look, here we are. And all of this, and even your own downfall here, happened because you allowed this to happen initially with me and Ramon and everybody else.
You don't jump onto the bandwagons of your opponents. You circle the wagons and you defend your people, whether it was Ian Cameron, who was facing that huge bang mob over the blackface issue.
Okay, so Ian Cameron, that you guys decided to defend. All right, why didn't you mention my name? Because my thing happened before Ian Cameron. Ian Cameron was targeted like a week after I was targeted, as well as 2 other MPs that I can't recall exactly right now, but 2 other MPs were targeted in exactly the same way that they targeted me and then Ian Cameron. And for me, it was throw Renaldo under the bus, even though 12 years of his life he committed to us. Ian Cameron, that was brand new in the party, was defended by all costs, which this is not a dig at Ian Cameron. Great guy, but somebody that's new in the party versus somebody that gave 12 years of their life. And then, like, you mention Ian Cameron. Who else do you mention?
Whether it was Karaba Kakao, whether it was anybody else, my approach was you don't believe.
Oh, so you're not going to mention Andrew Whitfield, Ramon Cabernac, Dion George, and Emma Powell. Convenient. So you mentioned the people that fit your narrative. But I think it's fair to say that I was the first MP whose membership was terminated in the 5th administration from the DA, and conveniently he forgets to talk about it. Or Andrew Whitfield, Emma Powell, Dion George, etc. It's just amazing.
People on the field, you rally around them and you back them up and defend them.
So, I've said what I wanted to say here. It's just you talk about rallying behind people, defending them, but you created this environment within the DA. You allowed the vocal outside minority to dictate how people in the DA are being treated by their very own people. And you set the example by throwing them all under the bus. And now you are surprised that this happened to you. I warned you in 2024 that this was going to happen to other leaders in the party. And here we are right now, and it's happened to you.
Let's talk about the political narrative and communication support, and changing narratives. These are things that you as politicians do and you're au fait with. Firstly, do you agree? I guess you don't, but tell us why not that you lost the political narrative on foot and mouth disease, and what more support did you expect from the DA?
Well, I think that, when you look at a political narrative, you've got to look at the broader narrative, not the narrative being spread by a very small but very vocal.
Oh, that's interesting. Oh, that's very interesting. You mean like what happened to me? It's guys, I don't want to be petty here, but this is important to note that this is still somebody that is a deputy minister within the Democratic Alliance that is just blatantly lying and ignoring his own track record.
Are you referring to SAI specifically?
Well, SAI, AfriForum, Sakeliga, and the others that have really been running a concerted campaign against me since I became the minister. But goodness me, to then throw that person out to the wolves because of this unhappiness, I think it really was a bridge too far. But it is what it is, and that's where we sit at the moment. And as I said, it's the leader's choice about ultimately where people serve in the DA.
I mean, you want to talk about Sakeliga and AfriForum, but did you or did you not lose the court case that Sakeliga and Free State Agriculture and the other role players side? Did you not lose that case after you were very arrogant? Yes or no? You lost the case, you made the DA look bad, and now you want to cry because nobody defended you. I mean, let's just also recap what happened to me. 14-year-old video snipped from its 6-minute mark to literally 10 seconds, and that was the end of it. You guys accepted it. You guys didn't ask any questions. The press ombudsman found them guilty of breaching the press code, and you still terminated my membership. Now, I mean, now you want to come and cry because you lost a court case that put a lot of egg on the face of the DA and you as a minister, and now you want to say that nobody supported you. Why did you run to the courts? Why did you not just accept what these organizations told you, eventually what was the truth? But it was because your arrogance and your stubbornness, and now you want to blame everybody else but yourself.
John, there's someone who told me last week that they reckon your trouble started with the right wing or Afri-Maga or Afri-Sol, whatever you choose to call them.
By the way, these are terms that John Steenhuisen came up with. Afri-Maga, Afri-Sol. This is Ryan Coetzee, who's a strategist within the DA. This is Dean McPherson, and this is John Steenhuisen that came up with these terms that News24 and other media outlets use. And of course, like, look here, Yeri is interviewing with News24, because why wouldn't he?
The White House meeting with Donald Trump. I mean, you'll remember better than anyone else. You were sitting in that meeting in the Oval Office, and Cyril Ramaphosa, the president, pointed to you when Trump spoke about the so-called white genocide in South Africa, and you challenged that.
Yeah, I did challenge it, and almost immediately following that, the hate started on social media. And to this day, you can go on and see it on social media. People say, oh, you sold us out in the White House.
You did.
Really, it would have been, I don't know what people expect me to do. Would I supposed to lie that there's a white genocide taking place in South Africa? There is not a white genocide in South Africa, not by any stretch of the imagination.
Ignore the Gregory Stanton stages of genocide and the fact that we are at stage 8, potentially stage 9 of a genocide. You know, the only thing missing out of this stages of genocide in South Africa is the actual mass killing of people. That's the only thing that's missing. So according to John and everybody, you're not allowed to say, guys, they're singing songs about killing people. There are actual people being killed. They are targeted because they are farmers, because they are Afrikaners, because they are white. But hey, let's ignore all the signals and let's only ring the alarm bells when thousands, if not tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people are killed. This is the reasoning. Like, yes, right now, as of the 28th of June, 2026, there isn't a white genocide in South Africa. But tomorrow there could be, because all the other stages have been achieved. The only thing missing is the mass killing of people. All the other stages are already filled. The only thing missing is what I've just stated.
And I'm not sure if people expected me, in the midst of an attempt to try and repair relations with the United States, to attack my own president in front of the president of another country. That came from South Africa. And here was somebody in the White House now, who also happened to be white, saying, but sorry, this is just not true. Julius Malema is not in government. Well, see how some guys going in and undermining our narrative. And I mean, still to this day, you can see people see, we'll never forget how you sold us out at the White House. I was in there batting for South Africa, and I wouldn't have done anything differently.
Well, the fact that you even say to this day that you wouldn't have done anything differently clearly just illustrates that you are completely missing the point. The reason that people have an issue with you is not because you didn't say that there is a white genocide in this country. Most South Africans know there isn't a white genocide happening in South Africa right now. But what you fail to do is you fail to point out all the failures by the ANC government. You fail to speak about the race laws in this country. You fail to speak about how corrupt the ANC and specifically Cyril Ramaphosa is. You, as the leader of the Democratic Alliance, should have been at that White House in that Oval Office, and you should have told the president that the ANC and Cyril Ramaphosa is not the answer. Yes, of course, it's a difficult position to be in, but you could have been the hero for South Africa, and instead you turned out to be the zero because you decided that your position and the position of your party was more important than the people of this country. So the fact that you think that people are upset with you because you didn't say there's a white genocide, you are being facetious here. Because you know as well as anybody else watching this that people are upset with you because you didn't expose the ANC for who and what they are. Instead, you praised Cyril Ramaphosa. And the fact that you talk about Julius Malema not being in government. Julius Malema is a member of parliament. That is being in government. His political party is the fourth biggest political party in South Africa. Julius Malema actually sits on the committee that elects judges in this country. And you want to tell me that that's not being in government? Like, how did you become an MP? How did you become the leader of the DA if you don't even know these basic things?
You were until very recently the leader of the DA, and the DA is still the party in South Africa that has the largest percentage of the white population votes for the DA, right?
For now.
What was the discussions inside the DA during your time as leader on how to deal with this, let's call them right-wing, Afri-MAGA people to the right? Because surely you want every vote you can get, right?
Yeah, you want.
Can I also just say, before you listen to his answer, and please listen very carefully now. So if you're just a little bit conservative and you don't follow the left-wing or liberal way of thinking in this country, then you are like considered right-wing, Afri-MAGA. So if you believe in faith, family, flag, and your freedoms, right, you are a little bit conservative. And according to Adriaan Basson and according to John Steenhuisen, you are Afri-MAGA. So listen carefully now to what he's got to say, to what in his mind is Afri-MAGA, which is just slightly conservative to relatively conservative.
Every vote you can get, but far too many people in politics see it as an either or, not an and. And I believe that the key to a party growing its vote and succeeding, because that's ultimately what you want to do at the end of the day.
No, it's not. A political party exists to bring its values and principles to the fore and offer it to the electorate. And if they choose not to vote for you, then you don't change as a political party. You don't change your values and principles to accommodate more people to vote for you. Because if you do that, then what is the point of voting for you when you are willing to change who and what you are to accommodate more people? So you already have the wrong viewpoint of what a political party is. A political party exists to say, this is how we will govern the country. These are our values and principles. If you agree, vote for us. And you are saying that, we need to grow at all costs, which means you are giving up your values and principles to appeal to more people out there.
Set itself the ambition of becoming the largest political party in South Africa. Now, you're not going to do that by just consolidating white votes. You've got to actively go out and cultivate votes from black South Africans and Indian South Africans and coloured South Africans, because you're not going to go from 21% to 30-something% unless you start making inroads there.
You see, this is the biggest problem with the Democratic Alliance, is their main focus is growing. That's it. It's not stand on your values and principles. It's how do we get more power? How do we grow? And what other political party in this country sounds very similar to what John Steenhuisen is saying here.
And my concern always has been to make sure that the signaling that you're sending out shows South Africans that you're a party for them, that you're a party that fights for them. And what?
So calling people Afro-MAGA, right? Calling them right-wing, does that send the right signal according to what you just said?
The key benefits of going into the GNU has been a huge uptick in the DA's black support in our internal tracking, certainly when I was the leader. And my worry is there are people inside the party and people outside the party who really see the DA, back in 99 as this small purist opposition party, who makes all the right points in Parliament but remains trapped in the opposition.
Oh, you mean a party that stood on its values and principles and grew because people started seeing that you stand on your values and principles. And look at you guys now. Like, there's so much infighting because you welcome so many communists and socialists in your party so that you can grow. And now you've got all this massive infighting in the party for the soul of the party because there's so many new communists and socialists in there and they want to change who and what the DA is. Whereas if you compare it to the DA of 5 to 10 years ago, you will see that that DA was more focused on its values and principles and not growing at all cost.
And my other worry as well is that there is a grouping that wants to bend the knee continuously to appease the Afro-MAGA crew. And I don't think that's the right way to grow votes in the party.
You heard it here first, everybody. By the way, if you're a little bit conservative, then John Steenhuisen believes that the DA shouldn't bend the knee to your conservative values, the values that assisted the DA into growing to becoming the second biggest party in this country. They don't want your vote. No. They don't want conservative or Afro-MAGA votes. I mean, this interview is going to cause so much damage to the DA. It's insane.
Firstly, let's be clear. There are a large number of votes that are just not available to the DA. There's the 30% of white voters in the country that voted no in the referendum. There's the people who left the National Party because they found P.W. Botha too liberal. There are...
By the way, tell me again, this is your 26th birthday as the Democratic Alliance. Who did you go into a coalition with and merge to become the Democratic Alliance in the early 2000s? Wasn't it the National Party? The very people that you are saying that those people won't vote for you? Didn't you form a coalition, a merger with the new National Party? With all those ministers that were ministers during apartheid, right? And politicians during apartheid. Go figure.
People who don't believe that a black government or a government that's made up with black people in it can govern competently or run anything. And
I mean, this sounds so woke, doesn't it? And I mean, have you noticed how so far he has not actually once positively spoken about white people? It's all about getting more black support, Indian support, and colored support. And when has he actually spoken so far in this answer about white support? The DA just take the white support for granted because they believe that you owe them to vote for them.
For those people, those votes are not available to us. And if you try and go after those votes, you're going to send a signal to black, colored and Indian South Africans.
Once again, you see, the focus for the DA is not on white support, it's on black, colored and Indian support.
That you're not interested in theirs. You're more interested in going after and appeasing the right wing. Also, these are not people who share our values. They are nationalists. They are tribalists. They are in some instances racists. They don't share your values and principles. They're not on the same wicket as you politically. And
so, quick question, right? The fact that you took the ANC caucus leader in Cape Town that moved over to the DA and that you have now sworn in as a councillor in Cape Town, does that communist share your values and principles? And the same with the EFF councillor that resigned from the EFF and then the very next day was sworn in as a DA councillor in Cape Town. Does that communist/socialist align with your policies? Because you are telling us that, oh, nationalism, we don't want any association with that. But communist and socialist nationalism, oh, we're fine with that. You see, this is the double speak that I'm talking about. So in the one sense, he's saying that their values and principles of nationalists and, white people, specifically conservative whites, don't align with ours. But then in the same breath, they allow EFF, ANC, and MK individuals to join their party, and not only join their party, but hold senior positions in the party. What do you think will ultimately happen when you welcome all communists and socialists into your party? Eventually your party is going to become communist and socialist, and the penny still hasn't dropped.
If you keep trying to dance to their tune, eventually the signal you send out to other people is that, oh, well, these guys are not really serious about us, and they're just interested in going after these conservative white voters. And my worry is that if we bend the knee to the Afri-MAGA crew, who do not share our values, that do not subscribe to the liberal philosophy of...
So you all heard that. That was out of his mouth. The Afri-MAGA, right? Don't share the values of the DA, right? So to the 300,000 plus members of AfriForum, right, that vote for the DA, according to the former leader, you don't deal with the same values and principles. And Sakeliga and to Solidariteit, if you support these organizations, then John Steenhuisen and the DA sees you as Afri-MAGA, right-wingers. So that's why I'm saying this interview is going to blow up in not only his face, but the DA's face, because he's still the deputy minister. He's still a member of parliament. He represents the Democratic Alliance. And yeah, in one sentence alone, he is telling at least 1.5 to 2 million people that are conservative Afrikaners or English conservative people that you and your values and principles do not align with that of the Democratic Alliance. Out of his own mouth, not my opinion, what he himself said.
Of a liberal outlook and the liberal tradition that the DA has proudly championed since the 60s. That in going after these conservative white voters. And my worry is that if we bend the knee to the Afri-MAGA crew, who do not share our values, that do not subscribe to the liberal philosophy of a liberal outlook and the liberal tradition that the DA has proudly championed since the 60s, that you risk diluting that and starting to play on the same wicket as these guys.
So I already said what I actually wanted to say here, but just two things to take away from here. The DA welcomes communists and socialists into their party with open arms, where they put billboards up of the former ANC caucus leader in Cape Town and the EFF councillor that just joined the DA. But if you are conservative, if you support AfriForum, Sakeliga, Solidariteit, then you are right-wing, you Afri-MAGA, and the DA definitely does not want your support, right? That is the takeaway that you should sit with what was just answered there.
You've seen some of the tweets that's gone around both these incidents. Many of the tweets and profiles on Twitter or X that distributed these tweets are not based in South Africa. Have you formed a view on that?
Yes, I mean, it's very clear there was a very well coordinated bot operation that was being run, and it has been run for the last couple of months.
Oh, that's strange. When I raised bot activity, I was laughed at. When I spoke about how many bot accounts are retweeting and reposting the IOL article, how many people, what was it again? 50,000 signatures to get rid of me from Parliament, right? From petition.org or whatever the website was. Most of those names was like Piet Pompies or John Black or John White. clearly bot accounts, right? But that didn't matter at that time. But now that it's John, now it's 100% bots. Nobody actually is truly feeling the way that they do about this. No, it's all nonsense.
And it's very clear that this was a very organized campaign. It's very clear that somebody's invested in this campaign. And if you look at many of those accounts, they're based in the Netherlands, in the US, and they fit very much the type of profiles that you would see from bots in bot operations. But definitely social media and a determined social media campaign has played a big role in this current situation and perhaps the narrative. And the DA is going to have to get to grips with this because it's coming for every DA minister. It's going to be Leon Schreiber on digital IDs next. It's going to be Saviwe on Bella. It's going to be Solly on something. And the DA is going to have to learn to build up the infrastructure to counter this type of attack on its people. You can't just get rid of people when a narrative starts to develop.
Really? Is that actually coming out of your mouth? Ramon Cabernac, Renaldo Gouws, Andrew Whitfield, Emma Powell, Dion George, and you want to sit there and talk this cock?
Every time, because you're just going to then incentivize these bot operations and these social media aggregation issues to continue.
I mean, the irony here is that this is exactly what I was telling them during my Federal Legal Commission interview. I told them that this is exactly what was going to happen. If you give in to cancel culture, then they're not going to stop because you rewarded them. And look at what happened to me. The moment it happened to me, then they came for Ian Cameron. Then they went for Andrew Whitfield, for Emma Powell, for Dion George, for Ramon Cabernac. And now, ultimately, John Steenhuisen. And it's not the Afri-MAGA people. No, it is the woke leftists. And it's the people that you are pissing off. It is not these fictional people in the United States or in the Netherlands. No. It is because you allowed cancel culture to thrive within the DA. And now because you've allowed it, now you need to sit with it. Because a lot of those people are also in the DA. And this is what I can't understand. Even after this happened to you, you can't even acknowledge that you made mistakes previously in getting rid of people. And I mean, there's a long list of people that you got rid of. And you can't even acknowledge it. And then on top of all of this, you don't blame the right people. Well, technically you blame the right-wing people. You blame the wrong people. You are blaming Afri-MAGA. So you're blaming conservative individuals. You're not blaming the woke left or the communists or the socialists. No. You are blaming people that actually voted for the DA. And them saying, we relied on you when you went to the White House to go and speak the South African truth. And instead of doing that, you just literally gave in and you cowered because of a ministerial position. And now that you are ultimately the last person that was thrown out and under the bus, now suddenly all of these things are warning signs, and the DA must be very wary of, cowering to cancel culture and to bots. Ultimately, this is the last thing that I'll say on this video to the former agricultural minister. Minister John Steenhuisen, you reap what you sow. And that's pretty much all I got to say. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please be sure to smash that like button. Share this video far and wide. Don't forget to subscribe. It's absolutely free. It won't cost you anything. However, if you'd like to financially support this channel, then you can do so by clicking on the super thanks below and you can choose an amount. Or you can become a member of this channel by pressing the join button below and it'll be greatly appreciated. And that's all I got to say. Till later. Cheers and peace out.
You don't even know me, but every time you see me, you say, I wear my massacre. You don't even know me, but every time you see me, you say, I wear my massacre. my massacre. You don't even know me, but every time you see me, you say, my massacre.